to the Buddy Martin Show, a Wednesday night edition on the eve of the Sweet 16, some 2,700 miles away. Tomorrow night, Florida Gators trying to make history again. Big game against Maryland. We'll talk about that tonight with our guests. We'll share a few lines from Hoosiers with you. We'll talk about what it's like for Todd Golden going back to his home city where he made his name. All that coming up. Special show tonight. We've got Kevin Brockaway all the way out there in San Francisco, along with Franz Beard, who will join us later. And, of course, this is Wednesday. It means Peek-Wilbur is in the house. That's always good. Are you excited? Do you have any superstitions? Are you afraid to say it? National championship. Will you look away from the TV for a while so you don't see anything bad and hope when you come back things are going Florida's way? This team will test your courage. That was the case last week with the huge one over UConn. Lots of good things to talk about. Kind of a kumbaya moment for all Gators. Had a fantastic time yesterday in Gainesville and at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Tell you about that. But first, let's get the program underway. Tell our friends and neighbors we are on the air, and we'll be coming to you for the next hour right here on the Buddy Martin Show.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Good evening. Welcome to the program. Great time to be a Florida Gator fan right now with so much going on. Even though there are a couple of blips in spring sports, this is a special moment when the Florida Gators are 4 games away from a national championship again. Who thought it? I didn't think it. I didn't see it coming. As the season built up and went along, and I began to see how these guys played together and for each other and how talented they were and how they were coached, I began to believe. Matter of fact, I began to believe back in early January and have been riding this train all the way, as have many of you. Here's a guy who's ridden it all the way to San Francisco. Seen a few games this day, and I'm sure he saw the Golden Bridge today, too, along with the entire Florida basketball team. Good evening, Kevin Brockaway.
How are you, buddy? Everything well?
Everything is well, and had a wonderful day yesterday in Gainesville and had a chance to go to Gridiron Grill and get some good victuals with my friends and have a kumbaya moment for all Gators. So it was good. And you, my friend, have been doing what?
I've been busy. I'm still in the press room here at the Chase Center. You know, Florida went a few hours ago, but I'm just finishing up my last story here. Got a beautiful arena right along the San Francisco Bay here. I call it the house that Steph built because without Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors' rise to prominence the last decade, they probably wouldn't have built this arena, but which is interesting because, you know, Walter Clayton has heard some Steph Curry comparisons. Kevin Willard's mentioned that today, and we asked him about it. He kind of shrugged it off, but you've heard the college version of Steph because of his ability to shoot long range, and certainly hit some big shots on Sunday, obviously saving Florida's season.
What did you pick up today from the team and from a coach and the feeling of what's going on right there right now? Is this a very nervous team?
No, loose, relaxed, confident in the locker room. I didn't sense any of that. I sensed a team that, feels really confident and good about themselves. That they were, dancing and in the locker room and the shoot around was kind of light. Last night they went to a dinner at one of Todd Golden's favorite spots called Ordinary Joe's.
Oh, he got in. Really I thought he didn't get in. I already couldn't.
Really good. No, they got in, and they had a really good meal, really good team bonding, and you could sense that this is a pretty tight knit group. I think going through that UConn game, that adversity, coming back from down 6, I think that's going to serve them really well from a confidence standpoint, knowing that they can come back from any situation. And certainly, listen, Maryland's a load up front with Derek Queen and Julian Reese for sure. But I do think that Florida's got a little depth advantage there as well. But I think this is, like I said, a group that has a lot of confidence, believes in themselves, and believes in their mission. Maybe to get to the Final Four in San Antonio at being only 2 games away.
That game was a white knuckle fight all the way and nerve wracking to many Gators. I'm telling you, heart palpitations were going there on that game. And there was a lot of moments we could point to. Certainly, Walter Clayton Jr.'s finish with his 3 bombs and how he played, how he just came alive in the last 5 minutes. But there were other plays, other moments. I keep going back to Elijah Martin's rebounds, his ferocity with which he played. I noticed how Golden mentioned it after the missed foul shots. He wasn't going to be denied that basketball. He went and got it, and amazing what he did there.
Yeah, and that's the football background, buddy, right? That's the dual threat quarterback from Pike High School in Summit, Mississippi there, kind of showing itself. And that was really, I thought that was a huge part in the game, buddy, because that was, 67-66. Condon misses the second free throw. Right. Martin gets in there in the scrum. It pokes out. It gets into Walter Clayton's hands. He drives to the basket, makes 2 free throws. UConn misses, and then Clayton comes down and sinks a 3. And now you got the 6-point separation with a minute to go, which is what you needed to finish off that game.
Yeah, so many of those moments like that, and you point to. Now, as we relive that game a little bit here and a little bit there, I asked this question earlier in the week. What do you think Todd Golden took away from that game? He got a master class in coaching, obviously, and couldn't happen to a nicer guy who got beat. And the game, the team just sort of took charge at the moment they needed to. But what do you think? How much better a coach now will he be going through games like this?
Yeah, I think it's a learning experience for him and his staff, but particularly the fact that, I thought the 8 turnovers in the first half, and, you kind of thought they wanted to speed it up, but I think they got a little skittish when they turned the ball over a little bit on the break. And they kind of played into UConn's tempo's hands. And I think with Maryland too, they're another team that's, I think, going to try to slow it down a little bit, use their physicality. So I think it's going to be important for Florida to speed them up and remain confident in that. They're going to have to take care of the ball better, no doubt. They're going to have to shoot their free throws better, no doubt. But if they can do those things, I really think that Florida's at their best on the run. And they've, and I know that a lot of these NCAA games slow down a little bit, but you get that game going in transition up and down the floor against this Maryland team, I think that you got a really good shot.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. Florida has to rebound to get the break going. They have to get the ball off the glass. They did out rebound Maryland, but they were not as aggressive in some areas, particularly offensive rebounds. What do you think? What were the numbers on that?
Well, actually, buddy, like the first 2 NCAA tournament games, I think they've been pretty good on the offensive glass. The area is a defensive rebound, protecting. They've given up a lot of offensive rebounds. And like you said, the defensive rebounds are what starts to break. So that's the area where I think they've got to shore up a little bit is the defensive glass, more so than the offensive glass. The offensive glass, I think they've been pretty good both games, but the defensive glass is going to be key. Maryland is a team that's kind of struggled rebounding wise, and their guards haven't rebounded well. So this is an area where Florida's got a little bit of an advantage, but Queen and Reese are pretty tough inside too. So it's going to be a battle. Chinyelu, obviously, the foul trouble is what it is with him.
Foul trouble.
But you do have at least enough bigs to kind of get by, because you can bring Mike off the bench. You can bring Tommy Houck off the bench. Tommy Houck, by the way, hit a couple of really big free throws at the end of that game too, and came up with a hustle play as well. He was another one that really made a big impact in that game, and is really, obviously, this whole season coming of age as well. So he's another valuable piece to have off the bench for Florida in this matchup.
No doubt about it. Let's talk about coaches. Did he go to the Golden Gate Bridge today? Did he take his team out there?
I don't know if he took him to USF, to practice.
Yeah.
So they've done that. I don't know if they're going out to the Golden State Bridge. Like I said, they went to Ordinary Joe's, that restaurant, and I think that like I said, it's it's. I think it's still a business trip though, somewhat here, buddy. I think they realize kind of the sense of urgency that they've got to, for the legacy of this squad, for as much as they've accomplished. You still got those two more hanging here. You're the number one seed. As the number one seed, you're favored in this game by 6.5 points. So it's a real chance here to do something that a Florida team hasn't done in more than a decade, and let's get to a Final Four.
Let's talk about coaches. Let's talk about. I always love the fictional coach in Hoosiers. Gene Hackman playing Norman Dale takes his team into the field house in Indianapolis there, and they measured the baskets right in front of them. I said, "Well, why do you do that?" Obviously, to show them there was the same kind of court, but all courts have their little peccadillos and different things. Some are better shooting, whatever. But how much do you think Coach Golden's going to say, "Hey, this is my hometown where I made my bones. It feels good here. It's a good place," because they're 2,700 miles away. Someone said they said, "Well, poor Houston. They're going to play 2 games on the road to make the Final Four." What? What do you think Florida's doing? They're a longer trip than 2,709 miles or whatever. So I don't know. I just love that character. Maybe I'm writing history, but I just love Norman Dale, the character, and I just see in some ways him making it feel that way.
But I think the interesting aside to that is him taking them to the gym in San Francisco too, and he mentioned this also. Kind of, another chip on the shoulder kind of thing, showing them their roots. A lot of these guys came from mid-major programs. You practice in kind of the old, small, dingy gym at the War Memorial there. I think, rather than, practicing in the big bright lights arena at the Chase Center, and maybe a little bit of, humility and coming with a little chip on your shoulder, even though you're number one seed. I think that was a little bit of a coaching ploy as well, that Todd employed there. Too, as long as also being comfortable in your home surroundings. And he got a lot of questions today, obviously, about the homecoming. And Kyle Smith, one of his mentors, as the coach of Stanford, was courtside there as well. Randy Bennett, obviously, who's a coach at legendary coach at St. Mary's, is probably going to come to the game tomorrow night. So he knows his roots are here. He's going to want to, I think, show the people here what he's built, the kind of team he has. So there might be a little bit of pride aspect in that as well.
No question about it. All right, let's talk about the health of the team. You have any concerns there?
I think everyone's pretty healthy. I mean, people have been giving me a lot of questions about Sam Alexis, but I think whether he's healthy or not, and I've seen him warm up, I just think, with the way the rotation is now, I mean, Micah, you've got your 4 bigs there. Barring an injury or anything unforeseen, I don't think we're going to see much of Sam Alexis the rest of the way. So you've got the 9-player rotation right now. Everyone is pretty good. Elijah is always going to be a little banged up with the shoulder here and there, but he's going to play through it. How tough of a kid he is. So I think they're fine. And I think they're in very good, like I said before, very good spirits, very loose today, which, I think we'll probably serve them well tomorrow night.
Well, it's pretty good when they talk about your 10th player. Your depth is not an issue there for sure. Yep. So, and I don't know how much playing time he'll have, but just to have him there, is a special thing. Here's something that could rile up some Gator fans. I saw this today, and I don't put too much faith in these ranking things. Anybody can rank. I can rank, whatever you can rank. But somebody did this. It might have been 247. Rank each sweet team by fan base. Now, who would be able to really do that? But somebody did. And here's how it went. And I would think I would be.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah. Number 1 was Duke. Okay. Kentucky, yep. Okay. Michigan State, Auburn, okay. Purdue?
Auburn at 4 is way overrated. Purdue's got a really good fan base. I've been, because, buddy, I was in Indiana for years. Purdue, those guys at Mackey Arena, they're pretty nuts. But Auburn and Alabama ahead of Florida, that's a joke. Florida's got Florida's got a much better fan base and history than both those programs. That's
Yeah.
and I think Maryland was like 13 too. I mean, that was bad. Yeah, Maryland's got a very proud basketball history and really good fans. And I've been in their arena too. And they go back to the ACC days. That was. I just thought it was a really bad list in the middle of that list.
I don't even know what they were ranked on, but when you take that rest of that list, all right, Tennessee is next. 7th is Arkansas. They've had their day. There are good fans there. Auburn, nobody in Florida. I mean, who was that? Not Auburn. Who was that? Who's the other A?
I mean, Arkansas and Tennessee have pretty good fans.
Arizona, I think it is. Arizona and Texas Tech. There's a name you might hear more of if Florida wins. Then Alabama, then Michigan, then Florida, way down that low, followed by Mississippi, Brigham Young, Houston, and Ole Miss. I don't think too much of that list. Do you?
The problem is, I think, Buddy, is just because probably the same thing with Michigan too, is just the whole football specter of it and everything like that. It gets stilted. But I mean, Auburn and Alabama. I mean, Alabama's a football school too. I don't get where the two Alabama schools are ranked ahead of Florida. Now, Tennessee, like I said, Arkansas has got really good fans. I've been to Bud Walton. That's a really good place. Tennessee, obviously, Thompson Bowling. They do a pretty good job. Probably, for a long time, it was more of a women's basketball school, though. But, I would put Florida up there with Arkansas and Tennessee, a little bit behind Kentucky in terms of the best fan bases in the SEC. Auburn and Alabama, that's nouveau riche. I mean, they don't really have, much to hang their hat on other than the last 10 years.
Yeah, great word. Rich. Yeah, that's good. And by the way, somebody posted, I hate to give Clay Travis any credit, but he posted this today, and it's true. The men's NCAA tournament just posted the best ratings so far since 1993. Meanwhile, the NBA has lost 75% of its audience since 1998. I mean, what's going on here, man?
Yeah, it's interesting, but we're in an NBA town here in San Francisco. Like I said, a lot of the Steph stuff and everything like that. And you've got the Sacramento Kings too. I think the NBA is still successful in some pockets, but it does need to grow nationally. But college basketball, I think this is a renaissance, Buddy. I think simply because NIL and the transfer portal, what it's done is it's kept more players in school. The quality of play is better. Because more people are staying, less people are jumping to the NBA right away. I mean, like 5-10 years ago, a guy like Janai Broome would be gone already at Auburn, right? And now he's still sticking around. Walter Clayton might have gone to try to support his kid, and that's not the case anymore. So I think it's resulted in a better product on the floor, more entertaining product, and more people are tuning in as a result.
All right, a little bit on strategy. I'll let you going back to your story. What do you think Florida will try to do? They'll try to run early. What do they do with their big guy coming out with Queen? How do they handle him? Who guards him most of the way? They'll put several guys on him, obviously. What's the technique here? Because Queen's obviously he's a pretty guy. Light on his feet for a big man.
Yes, great footwork. Very Todd says one of the most talented players in the country. You probably start out in man, but you probably mix a little bit defense wise to try to Todd's not huge on doubling in the post, but I think you throw some maybe different looks at him here and there. But I think Chinyelu will start on him, and we'll see if he can withstand in terms of the foul trouble is always an issue. But you've got Micah there, you've got a lot of fouls to give. Maybe this is a game where Sam Alexis, you bring him in just to absorb some fouls as well. So I think you just try to gang as many bigs on him as possible, make him as uncomfortable as possible, get him off his spot. I mean, Alex Condon did a very good job on Janai Broome. So I think he'll be another guy too that you'll see that will play an impact, and I think will bounce back from his game against UConn. He probably admittedly had a little bit of a down game against UConn, and he's a guy that has a lot of pride in his performance as well.
For sure. All right, what are you writing for tomorrow?
I got something on the international aspect of this team, and talked to Alex quite a bit, Urban Klafshar, and then also and how some of Todd's mentors like Kyle Smith and so forth, and Randy Bennett influenced that, and also a little something on Walter Clayton and the Steph Curry comparisons and so forth, and him playing at the house that Steph built, right? And that's how I coined it. Because, you think about the Warriors, I mean, if they don't win those 4 NBA championships, they probably don't get this palatial NBA arena on the bay here in downtown San Francisco. I mean, it's beautiful here.
Very good. Kevin, have a good tournament. I know you enjoy. Thanks for your time, buddy. Enjoy San Francisco. All right.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right, then. Kevin Brockaway did a good job with the Games of the Sun. Check him out. We're going to go to Allie tonight. We're going to have her. I'm going to tell you about our friends at Titan MRI Imaging while we're doing that. Good evening, Allie. How are you?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
Good. I want to just share with you about Titan MRI Imaging. Boy, I heard Jeff Cardoza read this spot today. I thought, I wish I could be that good at it because he has a good spot. Talk about these people saying he says, if you're old and you're aching, and he said, believe me, I know old and aching. I sit next to Pat Dooley every day. He said, don't sit there and take it. Go do something about it. And of course, there they offer a lot of services. Titan MRI Imaging. MRI. Joe Colorio started High Field MRI in 1997. Now he's back. Titan MRI and Imaging now has 3 locations. Now they got serve you up in Lake City. Got 2 in Gainesville. And I think they're coming to Ocala eventually. So just pay attention if you need a CAT scan or whatever. And they also offer you comfort and security when you're having one of those Titan, one of those MRIs. I'm sure Allie's had 1 or 2. Certainly, Eric. So I want to just remind you, they take insurance through their convenient self-pay options. And Titan MRI Imaging offers MRIs, CAT scans, and ultrasounds. Easy scheduling with lots of options, including evenings. Titan MRI and Imaging. Good evening, Allie. Are you nervous?
Am I nervous? What am I nervous about the game?
Yes.
Honestly, I think I'm less nervous about this game than I was against UConn. I feel like I don't know. I almost feel like we had the hardest hurdle a little bit earlier in the tournament than maybe everybody else. But I'm not nervous. I think we're going to be good. I think we're going to win.
Before I forget, I got to bring you greetings from my buddy. You know who? I'm talking about Joey.
Yes, Joey Sorrentino. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love Allie and talk about your girls, your family. And by the way, I've had 4 drill jobs and 2 extractions in this mouth this week from Dr. Sorrentino.
And you're still talking fine, so he must do a pretty darn good job.
He's got the best hands in all of dentistry. I mean, it's amazing what a job he did there. So, I just had a wonderful – but anyway, he's a delightful guy. He's got his family, and he asked about your girls and said, be sure and tell you hello.
Oh, I love that. Well, next time you see him, you tell him we said hello.
We'll do that for sure. Let's talk ball.
All right.
You saw Hoosiers, right?
I did, yes. I have several times.
Me too. And I saw it again recently. The Gene Hackman character, who's the coach, takes us into the gymnasium and measures the baskets and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like somewhat that's what like Todd is doing in San Francisco. His place,
Yeah.
They go to a place called Ordinary Joe's, his favorite restaurant, he went to USF to practice. Apparently there was rumors he might take him to the Golden Gate Bridge. I don't know.
I saw some pictures of them definitely like being little tourists there.
Yeah. I wonder if you tape measure and see how high it was.
Right?
Anyway, I think it's kind of cool. So the strategy is on, the game is on, the game is there. Florida favored by 6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Coming off that win that they had, which could be exhausting or exhilarating.
Yeah.
Do you think they're better for it?
Yeah, I do. I think, you never know how you're going to respond until you get punched in the mouth. And I think that's true pretty much in any sport, right? And I guess maybe in life in general, not just, not just sports. But
have you ever been punched in the mouth? Come on now.
I personally have never been punched in the mouth physically. I can metaphorically, absolutely. And I think that maybe that was an important thing to happen. And great teams are capable of playing in tight games and are capable of not having good days, but they figure out a way to win anyway. And I think that's exactly what we saw. It wasn't Florida's best basketball day, right? They couldn't make free throws to save their lives, at least until the end there. They were not rebounding like we're used to. It wasn't their best performance. Now, they were playing UConn, who is, I think, better than their seeding in this tournament. They've been there and then won the last 2 years in a row. And they have a coach who people refer to as a basketball savant. So it's not like they got, the Sisters of the Deaf, Dumb, and Blind like Alabama got. They got a real test and they won. And in this tournament, survive and advance. You can win by 1, you can win by 20, you get the same prize at the end. And so I do really think that they are going to be better for playing in a tight game, but it's disrespectful to UConn to act like, they should have won by so much more. UConn is an incredibly talented basketball team.
Yeah, I've asked this question to several people. Do you think Todd, I wouldn't say he got schools. He certainly learned a few things from this guy he may be an SOB as a person, but he's a good, really smart basketball mind. Do you think he learned something from that game and think he'll be a better coach before?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you face adversity, you hope you get better from it, right? There is some lesson in there from you. And this is, all new territory for Todd Golden. But I would say he held his own against Dan Hurley and obviously was victorious. So somebody commented they missed 12 free throws, Allie, LOL. Well, you mean, I know they missed him most of the game. They hit a few at the very end. And so, but yeah, no, couldn't hit free throws.
We had a lot of turnovers too, which is unusual for them.
A lot of turnovers. Yeah. Rebound as well either.
There was 2 or 3. Yeah. They didn't.
Thank God you didn't capitalize on the turnovers. When I saw that stat that they did not get a single point off Florida's 8 first half turnovers, that's a kind of ridiculous stat.
Yeah, it is. And I don't know. It's hard to criticize when you a team that won like that and won a key game, and a big game that grew up a lot. And certainly their stud had the ball at the end, and he delivered in big time. Other guys helping too along the way, big plays. The moment didn't get too big for them or him, Walter.
Yeah. No, it didn't. And he showed up. I mean, I think there were points in time where we were all kind of like, he's got must be an off day. Like, where is Clayton? And then, the last 3 minutes of that game, we saw where Walter Clayton Jr. was. And
that's what I said. I tweeted it. Where are you, Walter Clayton? With 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And then a minute later, boom, there he was.
There he was. Yeah.
Like Superman with the cape. There he was.
I mean, Seth Greenberg referred to it as Walter Clayton doing Walter Clayton things.
Yeah.
That's exactly, he just, sorry guys, sorry I'm late right at the end and, took care of business.
Yeah. Well, you had a special guest on your podcast. If y'all haven't seen Alex's podcast, check it out. It's on quite frequently. Peek into the Gators. Give me that correct name. I always get it wrong. Peek inside.
It's Peek Inside Gator football, but this week it's Peek Inside Gator basketball.
Yeah. You got a heck of a guest, and I listened to the interview. He made some very good points. Seth Greenberg, who you've known previously, you guys lived close by.
Yeah, we lived in the same neighborhood in Tampa. My neighborhood is one of the little enclaves within Tampa Palms, which is very close to USF. There's probably only 50 houses in our neighborhood. And when he was the coach at USF for all those years, they lived in our neighborhood. And I babysat his daughters. Our families were really close, and our entire neighborhood honestly was really close. And when our interview ended, he said to me, the single best thing that Karen and I ever did was buy a house on Eaton Court, which is the street that that he lived on. And he was like, nobody locked their house, which is true. None of our front doors were locked. He's like, everybody parented each other's children, which was also absolutely true. Nobody had on shoes. Kids played outside till the streetlights came on. And it was such an idyllic childhood. And it was so nice though. Like, I know that, I feel that about my childhood, but it was so interesting and neat to see him say it too. And he's like, we've lived a lot of places. That was the absolute best. And I've been kind of reflecting a little bit on it, because I think that the standard for what I hold my coaches to is probably Seth Greenberg. And I didn't realize it until I was talking to him about it. When he was the USF coach, he would have family dinner at his house every Sunday, and the entire team would come over. His wife, Karen, would cook dinner, and all the neighborhood kids would come over, and the USF basketball players would play basketball with the kids on the driveway. And it was just kind of our normal routine for years and years and years. And I really never put a whole lot of thought into it. But now as an adult, I'm thinking like, that's the kind of coach I'd want a child to play for. You know, his players were from all over the country. They're not having Sunday dinners with their own families, but they have a coach who has made it a point to make sure that they're invited into his home. And, you know, when you lived it, I didn't see it like that because I was a kid, but, you know, removed from the situation, I think he probably is what I hold our coaches up to, that standard.
Sounds like me growing up in Ocala. You lock your front door. You walk around the neighborhood. The village raised you. If you just stepped out of line, somebody else's parents would say, "Hey, buddy, knock it off." You know.
Oh, 100%. That was our neighborhood, and he was so tickled to know that my sister bought my parents' house from my parents a couple of years ago. So my sister and her husband and their 5 children are still terrorizing our neighborhood from childhood.
Cool. I'm very nostalgic right now because I just put my childhood home on the market. It's hard to have houses when you don't live in them and live out of town. This house we've had since I came home to it as a baby from Monroe, and we've kept it through the years. And several of those have lived there. I've lived in it several times, and my daughter, my son lived in it, my niece lived in it, and it's really kind of chokes me up when I think about that house going out of the family.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to let it go. You can't keep them all, right?
Yep, that's true. Can't keep them all, and it is just a thing. Let's
talk about our projections on how many SEC teams we thought would make it. I don't think any of us thought 14 would, but once they did, then we started saying, okay, 32, how many make it? All right, 16, how many make it? 8, how many make it? I think we did this too. 4, how many make it? Then the final 2. Did you have those numbers handy, or can you remember?
I don't remember them. I'm trying to think. I want to say that we said when we went to 32 that we said over 8 was the consensus. And then we went to 16. I don't remember, but 7's a pretty damn impressive number.
I think I had 6 there.
Yeah. I mean, it's been such an impressive run from the SEC. And this is actually something that I talked to Coach Greenberg about in our interview. And, you know, he essentially said that the SEC has invested so heavily in basketball, and he thinks more so than any other conference as of late, and that this is now going to be the norm unless other conferences come to the table. And he's meaning financially, and he's meaning, you know, in facilities, in NIL, in coaching, all of those things. Honestly, coaching being the last part of that, because most of these teams from other conferences are incredibly well coached. But if you're not giving the coach the resources to be successful, you're going to be looking for another coach in a couple of years. So I thought that was such an interesting perspective, because I said, is this an anomaly? And he feels like this is what it's going to be moving forward, which is pretty cool for us SEC fans.
It is. And then I don't remember the numbers. I think I had 4, then I had 2. I had Auburn and Florida playing and Florida winning. How did your brackets turn out?
I had Duke and Florida playing and Florida winning. So, we will, that's our championship game in my bracket. So still alive, even though my bracket was pretty butchered in other places.
Well, everybody's butchered back at this point in time. All right. So the 7 teams in here, which teams do you think maybe shouldn't have been in, and who do you think's not there that should have? All right. Auburn and Florida, we agree. Arkansas, kind of a nice win there for Cal. Kentucky, Tennessee, and Alabama. Ole Miss.
I mean, all of these teams deserve to be here because they are here, right? They won. And
I'm just saying, surprise. Which teams were
surprise? I mean, I think Ole Miss is a surprise. I think Arkansas is a surprise. I think they've played incredibly well and deserve to be there. But I don't think anybody, if you would have told somebody 6 weeks ago that Arkansas was making the Sweet 16, I don't know that people would have believed you.
Oh, you're right. I agree with you. Cal's done a hell of a job. No question about that for sure. So Mike M says he grew up in Ocala and lives in Colorado. Lots of great memories of Ocala. Yeah, thanks for that. All the people chiming in. Perry Mason, the way I grew up as well. Respect the other parents.
Yeah.
Except you sent the comments on here. So we have a very erudite group of people who watch the show and watch you as well. let's address a couple of other things at the moment. Hold on a second here. All right, so how do you feel about this 7:39 tip in out in 2,700 miles away
Yeah.
on TBS and True TV? It's not what you call the marquee matchup in terms of TV, but Auburn gets 8:39 Central. 8:39 Central. That's
9:39 Eastern.
and in Atlanta, they get Atlanta, but they got a late time, man. That's brutal.
Well, Auburn's in the central time zone, so it probably affects their viewers slightly less, or I guess their viewers that are located in actual Auburn. I don't love having to figure out what channel on the TV True TV is every single year, but I far prefer the 7:39 tip to any of the other ones. I would love to be able to stay awake for the end of the game. And, for our region, the options were the 7 o'clock hour or the 10 o'clock hour. So we could have had 7:39 or we could have had 10:39. So I will take True TV and 7:39 every day of the week.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to. You're right. Thinking about Coach Spurrier, I had a wonderful trip last night to University of Florida yesterday. Visited the journalism school there, and thanks to Ted Spiker for all he did there for me. And then we took a group to Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. What a night we had! Coach came out. I had my wife there. I had a couple of my friends there. My stepson was thrilled beyond belief that he was there and got to meet Coach Spurrier. We had a meal. By the way, I paid full price for the meal. I didn't get anything off of it. But we all had different things from eggplants to steak. So I had the most unbelievable redfish I've ever eaten in my life. Coach came over and sat for a while, regaled us for the stories. But and I asked everybody going home tonight, of the 5 in my group, to rate their meals on a 1 to 10.
Okay.
And what do you think the average was?
Oh, the average is probably 9.5. We've eaten there more than 10 times probably since, which is kind of a lot for people that live out of town, right?
Yeah.
And I've never had a bad meal there. We've had the brunch, we've gone there for dinner. We span the gamut of times that we've been there, and it's always just been consistently really good.
Yeah. And by the way, the average was 10. Everybody had a 10. And it's unsolicited. They all had their own opinions of a group. Dessert was out of this world. Bread pudding, cream brulee. Oh, my goodness. It was
My kids love the fact that they have a filet on the kids' meal, on the menu.
Yes.
It's like the perfect size for kids.
Yeah.
My 10-year-olds are like right on the edge where sometimes they have to order a kids' meal. Sometimes they would order off the regular menu. Big enough for them to order off the kids' menu, like enough food. And they just think that's the coolest thing ever because they are filet kids through and through.
Right. Now, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to wax nostalgic a little bit, and I'm going to talk about something personal. And you can identify with this because of your background and your heritage and your family and your connections. Every now and then, as a journalist even, you allow yourself to become awash in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
To feel like, okay, that's nothing to do with my objectivity or whatever, but right now I sit and think about my roots and my upbringing and why I'm here and these people in this place. And I had one of those last night. I started thinking about this. I had been connected to the University of Florida since I was 8 or 9 years old. Went to school there, loved it, and met actually my third year, a Gator football player introduced me to a woman that I married. And I had been going with a woman who was my current wife now, Dawn, and my other wife passed a couple of years ago. And I left Ocala and Dawn and went to Gainesville and met this girl, and it was Victor Miranda, who was an all-SEC guard. And I bring that up because of the symmetry of the thing I'm going to tell you about. Is that University of Florida has had a big part in my life, in our lives, it still does. So all these years of covering sports and covering Florida and being a part of things, getting to know people, close relationship with Coach Spurrier, as you know, and there are times that I just sometimes, like after the national championship game, you can't help but feel it. That you feel good for these bunch of people that you know.
Yeah, that you care about.
Yeah, been very blessed in that regard. And so we were married last night, 9 of us at the table, and Coach came over and started talking about his days in Johnson City. There was a very warm, nostalgic feeling about being there. I'm thinking, a Gator football player going to introduce me to my wife. Gator football player is going to play a big part of my life. Coach Spurrier's played a big part of my life. Here I am at this restaurant, and I think about the wonderful association and relationship that I've had with Florida, and you have too. So you get what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. My life would be very different than it is right now without Florida football on so many different levels.
Where's that helmet?
Right here.
Put that baby on.
It's so hard to get on and off, but
Mess up your head. Yeah, that's what you call a football player right there. Thank you for doing that. So talk about your association one more time and how lucky you are. There you are.
Yeah.
Grandpa. Talk about your association and what it feels like for you.
Yeah, I'm born into this, right? My grandfather played football. He actually was at the University of Florida running track and playing football, and then went to fight in World War II, and then came back and finished his college education. He, played football all 4 years, ran track all 4 years, met there. I don't believe he was a senator then, but Senator Smathers, who became Senator Smathers, and moved to Washington, D.C. to be his chief of staff.
I didn't know that. George Smathers is quite a statesman.
Yes, and that is where he met my grandmother. She was a secretary for a different senator, and he eventually became campaign manager for the southern states for Kennedy when he ran for president. And, had like a really cool political career. Then he, went to work for the Dolphins after he finished up in Washington, D.C., and moved the whole family to Tampa. And my dad ended up playing football for Florida as well. And that's where he met my mom. And they walked in, they had actually met in high school at Beach Week, but my mom thought she was going to go to Michigan. That's where she was from, and that's where she wanted to go. But her parents eventually were like, if you go back to Michigan after only having been in Florida for a year, you'll never leave Michigan. So why don't you go to the University of Florida, see if you like it there. You can always go back to Michigan, but give Florida more of a chance. So they had never exchanged numbers when they met at Beach Week in high school, because she thought she was going to Michigan. And the first day of classes, summer classes, they walked into the same class.
No kidding.
Yep. And
It's just fate. Sometimes it's just fate.
Sometimes it's
Being
fate.
in a drive-in to having a hamburger and having a guy walk down the street that you know is a football player and going to say hi. He's with a girl that you meet and think nothing of it and wind up marrying her one day.
Yeah.
And those things, and my wife and I currently are very much involved. She loves Steve Spurrier. I won't tell you where she went to school at FSU, but she loves seeing Spurrier, and she just gets excited when she gets around all that stuff. So it's really good when you bring your girls get to go to the gymnastic stuff now. There's so many things they can go to and attend and see. It's a terrific thing.
It's such a cool thing to just have the whole family involved. And some of my best memories growing up were the golden era reunions and the stuff that they did with my dad.
The golden era, because that's an important thing that gets lost as we go forward. In the legacy part of this is that people think you say gold, you mean Todd Golden. You got to tell them what this is about. And you are one person who knows this. You know all this.
The golden era Gators are, in my opinion, the best era of Gators, right? They were a group of guys from the 50s, and that played together and really honestly became best friends. All of my grandfather's closest friends until the day he died were his teammates. And, it was very sad towards the end of my grandfather's life, because he lived for so long. He died at 95, that watching his teammates die of natural causes, one at a time. But every summer they would do a reunion at Crystal River at the Plantation Inn, which, by the way, is for sale right now. So I really,
boy, I've been there many times.
It is so nostalgic to me. And the the players would bring their children, and then it eventually turned into the players bringing their grandchildren. And that is where I know so many people that I ended up going to Florida with, but I knew them growing up because every summer we knew we were going to spend 3 or 4 days together at the Plantation Inn. And, watching their genuine love for each other and their continued relationship decade after decade is really something to aspire to. I always tell Eric all the time, like, you 2000s guys need to get it together. You should be doing a reunion every single year because it was an important part of their life, but it becomes an important part of your entire family's life if you let it, if you build it, right? If you kindle those relationships and nurture them. And that generation of players did that better than anybody that came after them. The Silver 60s do a pretty damn good job of it as well. They still get together. Yeah. On a very regular basis. And it's so special to watch that. And I do sometimes look at Eric's era and my brother's era through the lens of the golden era, and it's not the same. It's not, these are all great people. I care about them. I love my husband's teammates, but they don't put the same effort into their continued relationships that these golden era Gators did. They set the standard for that.
They did. And they had a big impact on me. Because those guys, they were after the greatest generation, but those are the first Gators I got to know.
Yeah.
Ocala, and guys like Fred Monstioka.
Oh yeah.
Great kicker and all. He worked in Ocala, Dixie Lime, Red Mitchell.
Yep.
Was a funny guy. First
plays the MC at all the performances.
Yeah. First column award I ever won was a column about Red Mitchell. The night he entertained the people during the hurricane at the
you told me this, yes.
And then, anyway, then just a whole bunch of people there that Blue Monstioka, and they made it a point to go and get me and say, buddy, you need to come here and know about this. So I got to know about the Golden Era guys. Yeah. And then in the end, one of the things what Palmer did, may God rest his soul, what a great man he was. When Spurrier got out of coaching, he had no jobs. He offered Steve a job. And wow. Steve never forgot that.
Yeah.
Like Steve called me up one day and said he wanted to go to Whit's funeral. And he came, we went to Whit's funeral together. And but anyway, there's again, that bond is, and I felt that bond, last night sitting there with Spurrier and Freddie Weeby was fantastic. I see Freddie's on here, the place. And it's nothing to do with commercialism. But to have a place like that,
it's
former players and fans to go and buy. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, so I don't know if you remember Napolitano's.
I remember I was there many nights in the back room when Spurrier after the game.
So Eric Natty played with my husband Eric, and we were good friends. I worked at Napolitano's in college.
Oh, really? Okay.
Dean,
in the back room, or
yeah, that I like to work the bar side, the back room side. Yeah. Dean and Ginger, were kind of parents away from my parents for me in Gainesville. But the fact that place doesn't exist anymore, I think about nappies every time I walk into Spurrier's, though, because that is exactly like we used to Dean would keep Bud Heavy in the cooler just in case Spurrier was going to come in town and come there. And he did, he even when he came to South Carolina, if he came to Gainesville, he came in there and we'd close those blinds in the back room. And there was a point in time where on Wednesdays, the whole defense would come and they'd set the side room up in like this giant U shaped. And it was like so messy, and the amount of wings they went through was absurd. But watching current and former players come in and out of their players' families, that's where everybody would go after a game. If they wanted to continue to celebrate, or maybe they wanted to mourn, whatever it is they wanted to do. It happened at Napolitano's, and I think about nappies all the time.
Yeah,
when I walk into Spurrier's because it's the same.
Is it open now still?
No, they sold it, and the people they sold it to were supposed to just renovate and reopen, and they never did. So the nappies actually live in Jacksonville now, which is where Eric lives with his wife Meg and their kids. But it's it was very sad, but it's I don't know. It's so cool that Spurrier's exists because nappies and that fills that void for me.
And folks, we're not doing a commercial, but just telling you for yourself. You need to check it out if you get there. So so we're gonna go in a couple of minutes. I don't know if Franz is gonna make it or not. I want to get back to basketball in a second. I want to talk a little football.
Okay.
because that's where you do most of your shows about, and where I do most of my shows about is football. And
Sure.
Billy's kind of got in the past last couple of days. There's a couple of stories here about a big tackle they lost. I can't keep up with all that stuff. 4-star tackle for 2006. Greer, I think his name is. It seems to be. I watched the video today because you don't get to see a lot of practice.
Sure.
And for whatever reason, watching that video, I watched the number of players they showed. It looked to me like the body language was really good. You know what I mean? It just looked good. The technique, the body language, the confidence they were carrying. I don't know what that means. Probably nothing. But in that video, I got a feeling like, something's going on here.
Well, at the very least, it means that everybody's 100% bought in still. And that is the most important factor to having a successful season, right? Like obviously being well coached and being prepared, all of those things absolutely matter. But if you're not 100% bought in, what comes after that doesn't actually matter. And I do think they have a little chip on their shoulder. I think that they want to prove what they're capable of, and they should have a really good season. They have an opportunity to have a great season. And we're going to see, but there's this video circulating of Napier hitting a home run. I guess they did like a home run.
The whole team went over there, apparently.
Yes. And watching the team go crazy about it. Like they love him, right? They 100%
do. They apparently do.
They are all in. And, all of us are allowed to have our opinion and what things we would do differently and whether or not this season's even going to work out well or not. But I don't think it's up for debate that these players are completely bought in. And that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, for sure. So are you over the offensive coordinator thing now? Look who's here. Franz Beard made it in after all. Way out in San Francisco. I left my heart. Just don't leave your wallet there, pal.
Oh, gosh. The hills here will kill you. I promise you. You decide you're going to go out for a walk. I'm going to go down to Macy's, okay? Biggest Macy's in the world outside of New York. Well, what they don't tell you is you got to go up about 10 hills and all this elevation and stuff like that. But hey, I'm here.
You're old. What can I say? You're old, okay? You're old, just like me.
Well, I am. No, I'm not old. I'm older.
Older.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to have Allie for a minute. She's got to go. But I want you to.
What? After all we've meant to each other?
Well, we kept waiting for you. We kept stalling, waiting for you. And so we get one basketball comment with her, and then she's got to go put her babies to bed. They're probably in bed now, aren't they, Allie?
They are in bed. I got to go put myself to bed.
You look like you've had a couple rough days, and you have. I know. Go ahead. Let's talk.
Hey, Allie at her roughest day looks better than I will ever look on my.
Oh, not about it. It's better than most of us.
I don't know that.
That's a fact.
All right. Catch us up. What's the latest scoop? Anybody been arrested or anything bad happen in the Gators?
No, I just saw Torian Green and Duke Werner down in Union Square, and this is a very relaxed team. They know this is a business trip, buddy. These guys are here to do business and to get a job done. There's no question about it that these guys believe that they're on a mission. You hate to say that because everybody always adds in, from Animal House. We're on what is the Animal House? The Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God, Well, I think these guys almost think that way. I really believe that they believe that this is a quest, that they know that these things happen so rarely.
Yeah.
You look at this, 15 years, 17 years, 18 years since the last national championship. I mean, that's a long time. And guys are very much aware that this stuff doesn't happen regularly. Unless your name is UCLA and it's 40 years ago, 50 years ago, this stuff just doesn't happen. And you got to cherish the moment. And the thing I see is the big guys following the lead of the guards, and the three guys we call them the Three Musketeers or Basketeers, whatever you want to call them. Our three perimeter guys are setting a standard for these young guys to follow. And I honestly believe that Florida is really on a mission. These guys they just feel it. They really want this.
Allie, he's got his game face on, doesn't he?
He does have his game face on, but I agree, and I've interviewed and talked to several different people about this team and about this, this week and all. And
Seth Greenberg had a great interview, Franz. If you missed it.
Yeah, one of the things that Seth said that I just has stuck with me is he said he refers to Florida as Noah's Ark. He says we got two of everything. And I just thought, what a great quote. That makes so much sense. But
that's been around for a while, but he might have been the author. I've seen it.
I don't know. This was the first time I've heard it, but he just talked about Florida's depth. But he talked about when game day came to Gainesville a few weeks ago. And he talked, they went and watched practice, and he was like, it was so intense, but not intense in Golden is screaming and yelling at all of them, but intense in the fact that they all want to improve and get better. And he's like, and they pour into each other. Golden pours into them. They are such a team in every sense of the word. And I asked him if that was rare in today's basketball, with NIL. And he said, yeah, that this team was just built differently in his opinion. And he talked about when they had the set up that a bunch of the players came over and thanked them for being there. And he's like, that doesn't normally happen. Normally it's acting like they're doing us a favor being here. And he was saying, that they were just so gracious, so kind, so appreciative of ESPN setting game day up. Oh, yeah. Like that. He's like, it's so refreshing to see. And it makes it hard not to root for them. And I know he's said it on ESPN several times. He thinks Florida wins it all.
I do too, Allie. The more I'm around these guys, I ran into Torian.
Yeah.
With his daughter. Oh my gosh.
Kylie's out there.
Oh yeah. I got to tell you what. I said, so you brought the princess. He said, the princess is going to be here for the whole thing.
The princess is a huge sports fan, so that does not surprise me in any way.
And I said, what's the mood of the team? He said, we're here to do business. Okay, that comes from
somebody who knows what it takes to do business. And that's something that this team reminds me so much of those 05, 06 teams. They were a team, right? There wasn't just, I think in a lot of these championship teams, there's one guy that is just the absolute stud. And I know that we have Walter Clayton Jr., but we have an entire talented, really too deep, not even just starting lineup. They care about each other in a way that reminds me of the 05, 06 guys. I saw an interview with Joakim Noah, and they were talking about hey, did you get your pockets lined to stay for the second year? And he said, actually, we were paying out of pocket for that Lloyd's of London policy. It cost us money to come back for another round, but we wanted to. It was so important to us that we never would have not. And I don't know. I feel like this team gives me those 05, 06 vibes. And outside of basketball, the part that makes me so excited is that 05 team is why the national championship was won by the football team in 06. The moment that game ended and Florida won, everybody poured onto University Avenue. Eric lived in a condo right across the street from the O-Dome on University, and we had several players over there. We walked into the streets, but as we were walking towards, Midtown, right in front of the stadium, more and more players are coming kind of together in like a mound. And I watched all of them tell each other, we want this too.
Mm-hmm.
It was born on University Avenue the night the 05 team beat UCLA.
Oh, sounds like a 30 for 30.
That is where that 06 football, winning begets winning. And
well, I think you're so right. And I think this football team is seriously hungry. I really believe that these guys, and I think they're going to take a cue from this basketball team, because it's like Walter and Will Richard could have gone on to Europe. They'd have made they'd have made a really good living. They'd have made $200,000-$300,000 a year, which, hey, when you're 21 years old and straight out of college, that's a pretty good start in life.
Yeah.
But they came back because they wanted something more.
Yep.
And I believe that these guys want something more. Now, I'm going to tell you a little secret too, guys. There's nothing wrong with DJ Lagway. Nothing at all. They're holding him out for a reason, and that is to get Harrison Bailey every single snap he can, because they want to have a backup that's ready. They don't want to risk any injury with DJ Lagway.
And it's so smart. Why would you not? And we've seen what's happened to Florida the last 2 years when quarterbacks went down for injuries, right? Like the drop off has been exponential. Obviously, the drop off from Mertz to Lagway wasn't there, but when Lagway wasn't able to play in the Texas game, we saw what that does to a team. And so that's the smartest thing you could do.
Yes, it is. And I think, Allie, that these guys are going to take their cue from this basketball team.
Yep, we heard that story before.
That it really is an all for one for all. We are going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And I'll jump in there and say, echo your sentiment. During that time, I was working on Irvin's book, as you know.
Yeah.
We talked about that, how winning begets winning, as you said. There's no doubt about it. He lived several doors down from Billy.
From Donovan, yeah.
And
they used to meet in the cul-de-sac and chat.
That's in the book, in the first chapter.
Yeah, I read it.
Yeah, you heard about that book, maybe. So
this guy Buddy something they wrote it was really good.
Oh yeah. By the way, I can't keep her too late. She's tired. She's got a job to do. So let's let her go. Any final thoughts? We're 4 games away from a Natty, guys. Does that get you excited, Allie?
Crazy. It makes me so excited. I actually told Eric tonight, I'm like, listen, Hadley has gymnastics in Gainesville, state championships on Saturday morning. As soon as we get back to Tampa, let's maybe get on a flight to San Antonio. So we're going to see how this plays out. But I'm really trying to align the stars so that I can be sitting in another national championship basketball game on Monday night.
Well, I won't be there, so keep an eye on my guys and report back to me if they act up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Allie, I got to tell you what. You always bring something to the table. Always bring something positive. And your comments tonight, couldn't be more on the mark than they are right now. And I give you a lot of credit to everybody I talk to. You really know your stuff.
I appreciate it.
I've been around a long time, and I don't say that to a lot of people, but you
Not
really
bad
know
for a football girl. Not bad for a football girl.
Well, I appreciate it, guys. I'm going to go to bed now, but
All right.
Guys,
Thank you.
Today, and hopefully we'll have lots more to talk about.
Hopefully. Thank you.
All right.
Cheers.
Good night. Cheers.
All right. The great Allie Peek-Wilbur. Franz, we got about 5 minutes. It's all yours.
Well, here's the thing I'm going to tell you guys. I'm writing about it tonight. This team is so ready. This team has all the things they need, and they got 2 choices to make. And I believe one of the choices is to just pound it inside. Our 5 big guys against their 2, our 25 fouls against their 10, our guys who can block shots against their guys who, if they get in trouble, can't block shots. And that's the cool thing about it, is we get a guy in foul trouble, we can replace him with somebody who can get the job done. And there's something special about that, buddy, about being able to plug a guy in. Back in with the 04s, their first year, they had Moss and they had Chris Richard. Second year, they still had Chris Richard, and they had Maurice Spates too. So they had the size that they could bring in big guys. And there's something to be said about that. Maryland plays 5 guys. That's it. They average 36 minutes a game, all 5 of them. I don't think you can play 5 guys against Florida and beat them. I really don't believe that, buddy.
Okay. We'll find out. Depth will hopefully we'll see if Sam Alexis makes it on the floor. It'll be 10. If the plan goes well, they'll wear them down and have them own the game in the final couple of minutes. Franz, have a great time in San Francisco.
Well, I'm not leaving my heart here. I promised you that earlier.
Don't leave your wallet. That's
and right across the street from the courtyard here, this place, I ordered a shrimp quesadilla, and I got 21 shrimp grilled on this thing for $13. And I'm sitting there thinking, holy cow, this isn't bad at all.
If you want some really great food, go to Chinatown. Oh my gosh, you'll never eat Chinese food like that anywhere.
By the way, was there a sports editor at the Post named Judson back when you were there?
Which Post?
Denver.
No.
Okay. The guy, I was sitting by a guy, and he said, I think my brother was there at the Denver Post at the same time your buddy Martin was. And I said, what was his last name? He said, Judson. And I said, I'll ask. So I don't know.
No, don't remember him, but do remember a few people. Some good times there, for sure. Francis, keep up the great work. Enjoy. Eat well, sleep well, and play hard, and bring the Gators home to victory tomorrow night. All right?
Got to get some sleep, buddy.
Go right now. I'm letting you
I'm
off.
so sleep deprived. It's unbelievable.
I'm sure you are.
It's only.
By the way, you're doing a great job, and keep up the good work. Just got 2 more weeks to go, Franz, is all.
My column I'll have my column posted within 30 minutes. And it's a really good one about this team.
Looking forward to it.
All right,
Francis,
take care, guys.
my friend. Good to see you. All right, folks, we're going to take an occasion to tell you about 2 of our fine sponsors. We try to give you as much time there to talk to friends and allies as possible. Want to say that, of course, Melton Law was with Jeffrey last night. He and his beautiful wife, Patricia. We had a great time at Spurrier's. You saw me about his business, how things are booming. He's doing quite well. And I thanked him personally. I did his podcast yesterday and told him that I thank him not just for supporting my program, but for what he does for the University of Florida. And by the way, if you want to score some great stuff, their Facebook page has an amazing giveaway program. Go to Melton Law and check it out. If you need lawyers, they're pretty good at that too, by the way. They'll take care of your needs. Ocala, Gainesville, Williston, Lake City, and they're committed. If you need them, call them up and ask you want a second opinion, etc. They're just the best. Melton Law, they won't back down. And finally, my good friends at Renstar, who have supported me over the years, I want to publicly thank them. I think we're going to probably be wrapping up the sponsorship for the next few weeks. So I want to make sure I explicitly say thank you to the people there who've done such a fantastic job on this program and in the community. Renstar Medical Research, Joe Sorrentino and Mary Brantley, the wife of Scott. They actually knew each other in high school. They started this company. It's been a terrific company for medical reasons. The clinical trials they do are really great, and they're helping you and me and us. They want to get information from us to do a better job to be able to take care of us. So if you can see your way, go to renstar.net and look at what they got to offer in terms of clinical trials. It's painless. It's really not going to be any difficulty for you to join in and take part if you qualify. And if you qualify, you also get time and travel compensation. So they are gathering information to get that off to the right people to know how to take care of our health. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. Well, it's on, folks. Next time I talk to you, it'll be over. The Gators will either be in the Elite Eight or they won't. I think they will. What do you think? Have a great night. Come at you tomorrow night after the game. Good night.